Thank you, everyone. Some familiar face here that we have met, some old friends here on the back. I'm really glad to be here today. Um, just a quick check, like plugin developers here. Nice. Theme developers, like designers or users or testers. Great. Um, so the talk I can change a little bit. We have a space for that, but based on the questions that I will do today, even we can do some live testing. That is never good, but we're gonna do it. And when I was preparing this talk was we have the WordCamp Europe was the first trial of that infrastructure, and since the WordCamp Europe, we are using that base everywhere to use the playground. So now we use the playground to test the playground, and also all the projects use the playground. For example, the AI structure now on the background use playground to do automation testing over the project, and that's really good because then when I was looking for that way of working, also you can get those things and give to agents and say, have fun. And I would just do kind of like how I did that, but like it's not deterministic with agents. You can choose your own path. You just say, here's the address, here what you can do, have fun. And then will be the structure for today. About myself, I already have like a nice presentation. The developer relations advocate for WordPress Playground. I'm really happy to be in that project because every single day, like, people like one of the greatest mind behind us, Aden, that is from the a local, it's from the city. And when he showed for the first time, I was just like, oh my gosh, what is that? You're running WordPress inside a browser. And that was like years ago, 2022, 2023. And now we're here, and that thing is like everywhere because it's really flexible. We can do a lot of things. And for example, if you're using WordPress Studio, the base for WordPress Studio is Playground. And start the story, we can run the WordPress directly from the browser, and we use a technology called WASP to do that. And we kind of like simulate a real world environment. That thing that we have today, we can use for building, you can use for learning, and you can use for testing. That's like how I classify the ways of working with the WordPress Playground. The first contact that I have with the WordPress Playground was the learning part. And was the time that they were launching the full site editing. And I was like, okay, so this is a new thing. How can I test and use and learn? And then I saw that, okay, I can get the latest version, the next version for WordPress, run in this browser thing, test, and see what's the come next. And like, how can I manage my website now with the full site editing? And that was really great experience because I was like, I can change, I can break, I can do whatever I want, and I can do crazy things as well to test the limit of that thing or test the UI that's good or not, like find out. And after that, just close the browser, everything's gone. And then related to that, also, we are using Playground for testing. If you are on the Slack, who is at the Slack channel here for Make WordPress? Okay, 1%, good. You should go to the Slack channel. That's we talk with people. That's you learn all those stuff. And the Make WordPress, now we have rounds of like testing. Now they call like the bug scrub. And people just use the Playground to share a link and say, oh, here's the 6.9. Open that URL, test, break it. And if you find something on 6.9, tell us. And this is an easy way to contribute to the WordPress. You don't need to be a developer to kind of like have that environment and test. Just an address, a URL you open, and you can test the 6.9 and you can see what's come next. And the bonus of that is you're going to learn what's going to happen on 6.9 way before it's released. And moving forward now, what we have with testing is like all the automation, all the tooling that you can use on your project. And that mesh, how works out the mesh behind that? This is the classic flow. I think everyone's used to that. You have one person that I want to open this website. The request go to the internet. Then the internet find your server that has like NGX and all the infrastructure that will run PHP, that will read the information in the browser, and then do the way back and send the page to the user. With Playground, this whole flow works in a container, and that container, I named browser here, but can be a Node.js server, can be a container on GitHub, can be anything, can be a app in an iOS device, on an Android device. Why? Because that technology here was, we can compile C. So we have a transpiler that gets in this like code in PHP, compiles to C, run in WebAssembly, and then just like we just simulate PHP inside that environment. And that can run, if you run on C, you can run everywhere. So the sky is the limit here. And the nicest thing that you can have one infrastructure, and you can have like 10 infrastructures running parallel, running different tests. And for example, I want to use my plugin now, and I want to see all the versions of PHP and all the versions of WordPress on my plugin. I can just spin thousands of instances at the WordPress Playground and test my plugin there on all those different environments. Okay, another question. I would like to know how long, okay, someone join your team now and on your project. And how long do you take to onboard that person on your project now? Just want a quick check. Set up the local environment, download WordPress, configure the database, install plugins, and import the data. You have a rough idea? Hour, two, yeah. Enough breaks, yeah. And then like this case is like the person is on your side, and then let's say it's your client. It's like, oh, you want to run your project now on your machine. The client say, oh, I want to run in my machine this project. How long that will take to do on your client? It's rough, right? And yeah, I don't know if they know how to use the keyboard or not. Like, and those questions are relevant and it takes a lot of time. And that was like one of the motivations from Adam when he was in a WordCamp, and he was trying to set up a local environment at the contributor day, and he took half of the contributor day to start coding and submit a change to the WordPress core. And that's for core contributors. It's a challenge for clients, for team members. Like I had the same situation as well. Like I think was a long time ago, WordCamp Europe VN, when I got here in Europe, and was my first contributor day with a big team. And then people was like, okay, you now have set up Docker. And I have a different environment at that time. It was like 2016 or something. And the contributor day was only to set up the environment. And then I was like, okay, when I get back home now, I will review a plugin. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. For example, I want to know full site editing, but I'm not ready to use that yet. And so I will set up everything, use the full site editing, and then dump this thing, or I can just open a link. And that's like, for me, it's like one of the beauties of the WordPress Playground. This is the address. You just go there, open, test, change things. I have a tab now. I'll just show you live. That's so that WordPress here that we have. just exists in this browser. There is no server. It's like all happening here on the client. This machine here is the server, is everything. So if I open the dashboard now, we have this new feature that's the file browser. I can come here, change any part of this WordPress that only exists here. I can go here, say, right click. I can even create folders here, like a new plugin. It's a challenge to type with my hand. And then I can create an index file here, run, and everything. It's literally here, happen in that moment. I can save that work, come back to my settings. If I want, okay, I did that change. I thought that was really cool, and I want to save there. I can just save here. And if I just want to like use the admin, I can do as well. And okay, if I did something wrong, I can just go here and refresh, and everything starts again. And that's the first step. And then what we can do, we can like come here and like, oh, I want to test this this theme. The say, now I need to remember if the right name is like pattern. If not, everything will explode. Yeah, the run. Always there is another plugin that I always like change the name, like plugin. It's always challenge at Akismet. I always say, how can I do that? So one moment it finds the right address, and then we install the plugin. And when I come here to the dashboard, the plugin is there. And I can test and I can combine different plugins all together. And this is the first step for that. And that grows and gets more complex, and we have more functionality that can use on that environment. Sorry, now my Polish like to get a present mode again. There's a this one here. Yeah, gosh. Yeah, I'm getting fluent now. and and then we break down this like testing phase. Like we have PRs preview. I can just preview a PR with that. Like I can connect with my repo and just send to my client the link of the version of this pull request, or can send to my tester. Oh, if you want to test this version now, here's the URL. You go there and test it. And then you can do multiple versions. You can get like 6.9, 6.7, 6.8. You can choose like PHP 3, 8.3, 8.4. And later on, you go to automation, and then we have like little integration with AI. Okay, was an end was missing now, pattern. And so that's the theme that, for example, I can just set the theme, and that will download the theme and will run now. On the preview area, we get in one functionality for the WordPress Playground. There's like blueprint. Blueprint is like a recipe that you set. I was like, I want a more complex situation or environment. How can I do that? Then you use that recipe. That will work as like a Docker file that you just have this recipe for a Docker file that you just use and run. And in this case, I'm installing like the steps, like I'm installing a plugin and I pass the data of that plugin. That data can be a URL for a zip file, can be the address of WordPress.org, but also we can say the source of that is a GitHub repo, and here's the URL of the repo, and here's the branch. I can choose branch, and I can also use pull request. You can use both. Like you can point just for pull request, or you can point to a branch. And then like for example, here, okay, I want to test the latest version of my plugin with the latest version of WordPress. I can set better version, do the test, and that property here, I can add on my URL that will create a address that I can send to my team and say, look, this is how our plug will work on 6.9. And until now, it's like all manual. But first, before we get the automation, I do recommend this tool. It's made by Alex Kirk. That's a step library. If you don't, I don't want to go to the code and learn all the different steps of Blueprint. He's all visual. For example, I can import like a WXR, I can install a plugin, I can install a theme. All the steps will be available here. You select one step, it's like all drag and drop, just click. We're gonna have information here that, oh, this step needs this information, and then you fill the information, and on the right side, you're gonna get the blueprint for that step that you created, that flow. Because you can have several steps. You can have like a kind of like install plugins, copy files, generate information, go to the plugin, fill that form, create users, create posts, and then you have that whole recipe ready, and you have like a starting point for a tester, for example. Oh, the steps to test this feature, all those steps together, you just create that set of steps, and if you want to test this feature, load this address. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I got really excited. Like, sorry. Yeah, and then here you just launch the playground, and you can just like have this like playground running, and you can change like you can do whatever you want and send to your team. Okay, this was like was funny because we are cooking a feature that first the base was this, like I have a GitHub action that every single time developer in my team create a pull request, it will create a comment with the link to preview that pull request. And that's like, I don't need to manually create the blueprint. The GitHub action will do for me. And I will share the link for the actual thing. We have the GitHub action for that now. But this was the theory, the base for that. So literally, I was like, create a script that generates a URL from that pull request and generate a link on my GitHub to do that. But this whole process now, if you go to the documentation, Playground documentation, there is an option that you can see creating links for pull requests with Playground. And there is a GitHub action that you don't need to write down there. You just say, here's the repo and do the magic. And then the GitHub action will, every single pull request that you create, it will generate a link for anyone. Just click and preview the change. And inside that GitHub actions, you can create blueprints, and you can load blueprints, and you can set up steps and everything. Okay. Part of testing. Okay. Now it's how to get interested. I can use the JavaScript version to run a playground inside my JavaScript code. So what I'm doing here, for example, I want to see if always my WordPress will work with the change that I do, and then every single time that I run the task, it will check that. Then I create an instance of the WordPress with 8.3, the latest version of WordPress, and let's consider that this is already reading my theme. And then I just, okay, go to the admin page and check if that URL is working. This is one option. Or I can do steps for fill that form, go to that URL, remove stuff, include stuff, and then check if the process is work as expected. And this is the automation of like testing. We don't need like a recipe for that, because this will simulate like a real user. And if you are using Playwright, you can run with Playwright the UI version, and you can see this framework going and click on things, filling forms. You can watch that thing, but usually when we use that, because we have several tests, we just let the thing run on the background with a headless version of the browser, and we just see if we have like a green light or a red light. Okay, and now just to close that, to wrap everything. Then how we can use AI with the playground to automate stuff. And one process that I did was say, okay, I have my suite of tests, like the set of tests that I created with playground, with like playwright, running everything together. And then on my GitHub Actions, I'll say, okay, every single time that you run a pull request, run those tests. And later on, we have like agents system now, Cloud, Gemini CLI, and GitHub Copilot. And those items, you can tell, sign a test for them. You literally say, try to do this, and this is the instruction how you do it. And with that flow, with like testing in GitHub Actions, I can tell to the agent, okay, try to fix that until you get the test right and until you have a build and everything running. Good luck. and now like getting like it's not a standard, but Cloud have cloud.md, Gemini has gemini.md, and but people start trying to standardize like the agents.md. And what I'm doing here, for example, this was like a less deterministic way to create like a preview link, but even we can do that without GitHub Actions. You can say, if you want to preview that, here's the URL that you do. And here, for example, if you want to test or run the project, you can use the playground for that. And for several times, I see Cloud Code just open the browser via playground and checking if the chains are right. And he just say, okay, the chains are there, and he just validates the change. Here's just a demo like that I signed to GitHub Pilot. I just told, okay, that's what are the things that you should accomplish. And for a few small tests, get like there. In more complex case, I do recommend other models like Cloud Code or Codex but simple chat, for example, here is like using the guideline for coding. That was an old repo. That was like, I just want to see if this will get right. The last one, just a bonus test before I close. We also are enabling Xdebug. So if you want to use Xdebug, you can just use the CLI and call the Xdebug, and you have Playground connected with Xdebug. Okay, I just pass a few minutes, but last message, if you want to join the Playground, join Slack. I will be there. Talk with me. If you have questions, I will be here at the event. And obrigado.